Today I want to get into Jung Kook saying that he won't be able to be with us in a little bit and why that is. I want to get into Jung Kook believed to have hinted towards his military date, and then I want to get into Jin apparently talking about his last show. So hey Dumplings, it's Dave. Decide hater or not, make sure you're subscribed with the notification bell on. Grab your dumpling, taste spling mug merch, and let's go. We need to talk about Jin and some of the rumors surrounding him. It's been believed for a long time that Jin came from a very wealthy family. His mom was a beauty pageant winner and his dad was the CEO of Samsung. These rumors are easy to believe because we look at Jin as this amazing person. He must have come from what seems to be like royalty. He must be way out of our league, and this is how we justify his success. Because if he was just like us but successful, then we kind of don't believe it. Because how did he get so far and I didn't? And we're all on our own track, so I don't really like that mindset. First of all, it's very damaging and unrealistic to think anyone who is successful must have come from success. It's a way to dismiss their success, but above that, it then solidifies this idea that you yourself cannot be anything special because you don't have the same type of rich parents that this other person had. It also takes away from the hard work that Jin has done over the years to say that his success is only nepotism. And second of all, there's no evidence of this. Even in the early days, if you watch BTS content, it was pretty clear that everyone was somewhat broke. Some members' families might have had a little bit more money, but overall it was not considered rich. It was later seen in a live stream, I believe, that Jin said that his dad was a CEO of a gaming company in Germany. We don't know how big that gaming company is, but that is a huge difference between the CEO of Samsung, a almost $500 billion company, versus maybe a smaller German gaming company. Being a CEO doesn't always entail that the company is making millions of dollars every year, and Jin could still have grown up in a very middle-class income, and then just because your mother might have been Miss Korea doesn't entail that much money either. Maybe connections, but Jin's and the mother's careers are two very different careers, so they wouldn't really overlap in connections. Once pageant winners win, they either get money for their honor or they just receive a title and no money, which is still something very sought after. The money they receive is nowhere near enough money to last a lifetime, ranging from tens of thousands of dollars to a couple $100,000, which sounds like a lot and definitely life-changing money, but you can't retire from that. They might have bought a nice house with it, and that's about it. There's been this rumor of what Jin will do after the military. For some reason, people believe he won't be going back into music, but taking over his father's company. Jin will do one last show and then go into the corporate world. Jin has shown interest in MapleStory and making games before, so this rumor is very believable. And I also think it's very annoying to believe that kids and parents want anything to do with each other's careers. The reason why Jin went into being an idol was because he probably had no interest in taking over his father's company. Also, with the amount of money that Jin has made as an idol, why would he have to take over his father's company? His father would soon sell it, then to make Jin give up his current job, which is making almost billions. This rumor makes no sense. It also doesn't take into consideration that idols' careers in entertainment are a business. Ticket sales, album sales, merch sales, this is all a business. And so why would Jin take over another business when he is the CEO of his own business? And understanding that music is also corporate. Jin works for Hybe and probably has his own office where he sits there and does paperwork. Anyone in entertainment will tell you a lot of the job is just paperwork. Any executive or any person of power to do this is just sitting there 90% of the time just doing paperwork. It reminds me of that story when people were saying that Ariana Grande's mother was fired from being Ariana's manager, and Ariana's mom is the CEO of 3 companies. The mom literally couldn't care less on what Ariana is doing. Jin taking over his dad's company rumor is still giving that same vibe. Jung Kook has been in the news a lot recently for a lot of stuff that he has done. He has been going around promoting himself and was recently on a live show on StationHead. StationHead is a broadcasting company, and I believe it's aired on the radio. I'm not sure. And they did this cool thing on Twitter or X where you could click their link and listen to it live. This caused a lot of issues and fans were rioting online. Not because Jung Kook or the company did anything wrong, but because there were so many people trying to listen in on Jung Kook that StationHead's server crashed. They probably couldn't hold the capacity that armies were bringing, and there likely could have been millions tuning in. People were waiting 20 to 30 minutes and they still couldn't get the site to work because it completely crashed. They did end up apologizing and letting everyone know it was a server issue, and people asked them to fix it next time. They probably will fix it next time. They probably will increase the bandwidth or something, but they probably will only do that when Jung Kook is on, because not every artist has this much of an audience coming in. So they don't need it for everyone. And fixing this stuff is expensive. Jung Kook talked about many things on the live, but one thing that he talked about was very shocking to ARMYs is when he said that he has a lot of stuff planned and he won't be able to go on live as much anymore. Basically saying he cannot do it anymore. Jung Kook specified that going live is the main way he communicates now, and even though it is, he will not be able to do it as much anymore because he is preparing for his album and things are about to get busy. He says he has a busy schedule lately. Of course, many ARMYs were extremely understanding of this. How could you not be? He is literally preparing things for us and doing his job by making music. It is all something that we have all been very much anticipated. So we definitely do not mind that he is doing all that right now. Jung Kook talked about how another reason he cannot go live is because he has so many things actually planned. So it's not just a schedule of releases, but he seems to have a lot of stuff he wants to personally do. And he cannot really talk about those things as they need to be kept confidential. I have been very excited for more Jung Kook music. 7 is and has been so fun. I really enjoy watching and rewatching. If you are interested in rewatching and reacting to the 7 music video with me and the Dumpling community have a great time doing that over on Patreon. I will link that below. There is currently an open $1 tier with limited spots, so make sure you check it out if you're interested. I can also understand why he is just currently working on it, as Jung Kook also reads a comment that talks about what Jung Kook is currently scared of. I'm assuming music-wise. The comment talked about how Jung Kook is usually very good at everything, so there's nothing to be nervous about. How Jung Kook said that he is nervous because what if he is not as good as people are expecting? I think he definitely should not be worried about that. When you like someone, even if they're a little bit off, you tend to think what they're doing is good anyway. And as far as it goes, K-pop is extremely competitive, but effort put into making music in the US is not as much. A lot of artists choose the lazy route of making music, and so when artists come in and put in this big production, it's a big deal in the US and people will flock to it. People like to say they prefer someone who is just like them, which is like staying at home all the time or super relatable, but at the same time, we are starting to see how that type of personality has been very damaging to art in general. And while we love the lazy personality to relate to, we don't like it in art. Jung Kook also then spoiled when he will be making his comeback, and some people have tied this directly to when they believe he will be going to the military. Jung Kook was asked when he will be resting, to which he replied that he has no time to rest and there's loads to do in November, and that it's so busy that it's scary to him. So Jung Kook mentioned that he will be making music and preparing everything by November. Obviously, this is very exciting and I can't imagine what type of things will come out, but it seems like a lot of it might actually already be done, and maybe they're just doing finishing touches, because if plans are rolled out already, then they have to know what plans to roll out, meaning they probably know what type of content is going to be and what type of interviews to gather. But anywho, people then took this and concluded that Jung Kook's military date and shaving head date is likely going to be by January, since he will likely still have stuff come out by December, and then January will be the time when he starts to conclude the promotion. This will be the time if he chooses to tour, he may do one, and then if he doesn't, he may choose to enlist right into the military by then. I believe before then, we will probably have news very soon of Suga enlisting and RM, and then Jung Kook and Taeyang might actually go around the same time. So this is a very interesting theory. This theory keeps changing because people initially thought Taeyang was going to go last, as in his solo album, and then enlist last. Taeyang might still enlist last, but Jung Kook is going to be the last to go. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out my Patreon for more videos, link down below. Thanks, just love the comments right here. Love you, bye.